because we are reducing risk. From a customer value perspective, the curve looks like this in the beginning. As uncertainty is reduced, we gradually focus more and more on customer value. We know what we're going to build and how, so just do it. And by doing the highest value stories first, we get this nice steep value curve. And then gradually the value curve starts flattening out. We've built the most important stuff, and now we're just adding the bonus features, the toppings on the ice cream. This is a nice place to be because at any point, Pat and the team may decide to trim the tail, to cut right here, and move on to another more important project, or maybe start on a whole new feature area within the same product. That is business agility. So when I talk about value here, I actually mean knowledge value plus customer value, and we need to continuously find a trade-off between these two. Another trade-off is short-term versus long-term thinking. What should we build next? Should we do that urgent bug fix? Or build that awesome new feature that will blow the users away? Or do that difficult platform upgrade that will enable faster development in the future sometime? We need to continuously balance between reactive work and proactive work, or firefighting and fire prevention. And this relates to another trade-off. Should we focus on building the right thing, or building the thing right, or perhaps building it fast? Ideally, we want all three, but it's hard to find the balance. Suppose we are here, trying to build the perfect product with the perfect architecture. If we spend too much time trying to get it perfect, we may miss the market window or run into cash flow problems. Or suppose we are here, rushing to turn a prototype into a usable product. Great for the short term perhaps, but in the long term we might be drowning in technical debt and our velocity will approach zero. Or suppose we are here, building a beautiful cathedral in record time, except that the users didn't need a cathedral, they needed a camper van. So there's a healthy tension here between the Scrum roles. Product owners tend to focus on building the right thing. Development teams tend to focus on building the thing right. And Scrum Masters or Agile coaches tend to focus on shortening the feedback loop. Speed is actually worth emphasizing because a short feedback loop will accelerate learning. So you'll more quickly learn what the right thing is and how to build it right. However, all three perspectives are important, so keep trying to find the balance. Finally, there is a trade-off between new product development and old product improvement. Product backlog is actually a slightly confusing term because it implies that there is only one product. And project is a confusing term too because it implies that product development ends. A product is never really finished. There's always maintenance and improvements to be done, all the way until the product reaches end of life and is shut down. So when a team starts developing a new product, what happens to their last one? Handing off a product from one team to another is expensive and risky. So a more common scenario is that the team continues maintaining the old product while developing the new one. So it's not really a product backlog anymore, it's more like a team backlog, a list of stuff that the product owner wants this team to build. And it can be a mix of stuff from different products. And the product owner needs to continuously make trade-offs between these. Once in a while, a stakeholder will call Pat and say, hey, when will my stuff be done? Or how much of my stuff will be done by Christmas? As product owner, Pat is responsible for expectations management, or more importantly, realistic expectations management. And that means no lying. I know, it's tough, but who said Agile was easy? It's not really that hard to make a forecast as long as it doesn't have to be exact. If you measure the velocity of your team, or the combined velocity of all your teams, you can draw a story burn-up chart, like this. This chart shows the cumulative number of stories delivered over time, or story points if you prefer. Note the difference. This curve shows output. That curve shows outcome. That's the output, and that's the outcome that we hope it will achieve. Our goal is not to produce as much output as possible. Our goal is to reach the desired outcome. Happy stakeholders. Using the least possible output. Less is more. Now look at the burn-up chart and you can draw an optimistic and pessimistic trend line. You can do it using fancy statistics voodoo or you can just draw it visually. And the gap between these lines is of course related to how wavy and unpredictable your velocity is. Luckily that tends to stabilize over time, so our cone of uncertainty should get tighter and tighter. Okay, so back to expectations management. Suppose the stakeholders ask Pat, when will all of this stuff be done? When will we be here? That's a fixed scope, variable time question. So Pat uses the two trend lines to answer. Most likely sometime between April and mid-May. Suppose the stakeholders ask Pat, how much will be done by Christmas? That's a fixed time, variable scope question. The trend lines tell us, we'll most likely finish all of these by Christmas, some of those, and none of those. And finally, suppose the stakeholders say, can we get these features by Christmas? Now, that's a fixed time, fixed scope question. Looking at trend lines, Pat says, nope, sorry, ain't gonna happen. Followed by, here's how much we can get done by Christmas, or here's how much more time we would need to get everything done. It's generally better to reduce scope than to extend time, because if we reduce scope first, we still have the option to extend the time later and add the rest of the stories. Vice versa doesn't work, because darn it, we can't turn the clock backwards. Time is rather annoying that way, isn't it? So Pat puts it this way: we could deliver something here and the rest later, or we could deliver nothing here and the rest later. Which do you prefer? These calculations are pretty simple to do, so Pat updates the forecast every week. The important thing here is that we are using real data to make the forecast, and that we are being honest about uncertainty. I said no lying, right? So this is a very honest way of communicating with stakeholders, and they usually appreciate that a lot. If your organization doesn't like truth and honesty, it probably won't like Agile. Now, a word of warning. If the team is accumulating technical debt, if they're not writing tests and not continuously improving the architecture, then they will get slower and slower over time, and the story burn-up curve will gradually flatten out. That makes forecasting almost impossible for Pat. So the team is responsible for maintaining a sustainable pace, and Pat avoids pressuring them into taking shortcuts. Okay, what if we have a larger project with multiple teams, and we have several product owners, each with their own backlog for a different part of the product? Overall, the model is really the same. We still need capacity management, we still need stakeholder communication, we still need product owners who can say no, we still need backlog grooming, we still need a short feedback loop, etc. Velocity is really the sum of all output, so that can be used for forecasting. Or make a separate forecast for each team, if that makes more sense. In a multiple team scenario, however, the product owners have an important additional responsibility: to talk to each other. We should organize the teams and backlogs to minimize dependencies, but there will always be some dependencies that we just can't get rid of. So there needs to be some kind of sync between the product owners so that they build things in a sensible order and avoid sub-optimizing. In large projects, this usually calls for some kind of chief product owner role to keep the product owners synchronized. Okay, that's it. Agile product ownership in a nutshell. Hope this was useful to you.